Welcome back to Huckabee and our special Republican Presidential Forum. Joining us now is Texas Governor Rick Perry, and the first question from Ken Cuccinelli.
Governor, good to see you.
Yes, sir.
You've said that if elected, you'd issue an executive order to block the implementation of the federal health care law. What is your authority to unilaterally invalidate a law passed by Congress and signed by the President?
Obviously, executive order, and in those agencies also, there is a substantial amount of that bill that allowed for the agencies to put the rules in place. So I'm going to put people in as the head of Health and Human Services, for instance, that share my philosophy that obviously Medicaid, for instance, needs to be block granted back to the states. And now, Lord willing, we'll get rid of that this summer with a Supreme Court ruling on the constitutionality issue, which
certainly
I think all of us have joined in that suit. And thank you all for being great attorney generals from that standpoint.
Well, so as a president, it sounds like you're ready to simply use an executive order to effectively void this law or large parts of it that you don't agree with.
Absolutely. And I think that...
What is your authority for that?
Well, the executive order obviously gives you that authority, but also, as I said earlier, having men and women in those agencies that are going to share your philosophy, and I think that's a really important message, not just at Health and Human Services, but all the way through. In my plan for getting America back working, I talked about the energy industry and having the Department of Interior open up those federal lands and waters so that we can get into and explore for and get America more independent on the energy side. Millions of jobs can be created and have the security of domestic energy.
We're getting a little away from the question. I just want to be real clear to make sure I understand this. You are taking the position that you can stop the implementation of a law passed by Congress, signed by the President, with an executive order.
I'm saying we can stop parts of it. The other parts of it obviously would have to be done from the rule standpoint of those rules that are going to be implemented by the Health and Human Services, etc.
Governor Perry, employment gains in recent decades, I think we can all agree, have come in right-to-work states where workers are not forced to join a union in order to be employed. All three of us here represent right-to-work states, and we also adamantly oppose the National Labor Relations Board's attempt to stop Boeing from adding a plant in South Carolina because they are a right-to-work state. Do you favor passing a national right-to-work law?
Actually, I believe that the states have the responsibility of doing that. Big 10th Amendment supporter that I am, that states compete against each other. And, I used to go over and try to get jobs out of Arkansas, and Mike would be over trying to get them out of Texas, and that's how we get stronger.
Don't tell me how that turned out.
That's how we get stronger as a country, is that it's states that say, you know what, we don't want to be a right-to-work state. Well, places like Texas or places like Florida or Virginia or Oklahoma, they're going to be more competitive. Yeah. And with their tax policy and with their regulatory policy and with their legal policies, that's how you make America more competitive. Get the federal government out of making one-size-fits-all. Even if it's for things that we think that we would like, there may be some states out there that say, we don't want that. And then people can vote with their feet, which is what they do. It's one of the reasons a lot of people move to Texas now. It's because we've made it a very, very a good place for businessmen and women to put their capital and know they'll have a return on their investment.
Governor, as the governor of Texas, expenses for health care, incarceration, and Medicaid as it relates to illegal immigration have cost each of our states billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Should the federal government be required to reimburse the states for that cost, and if not, why?
We send them a bill every year and yet to be paid for it, and I'm sure that the governor did the same when he was in Arkansas. The real issue here goes back to border security again, and that is the reason that we as governors and you as attorney generals have to deal with these issues, is because of the abject failure of our federal government to defend and secure that border. I've been dealing with this for over 10 years now. Sheriff Arpaio, he endorsed me last week in the campaign because he said, you know what, this is the one guy that actually understands how to secure that border. And that is what we have to do as a country, a president that is committed to securing that border. We know how to do it. We just don't have the resources for a 1,200-mile border to secure it the way that it needs to be done. The strategic fencing, the boots on the ground, the aviation assets in the air, and you can secure that border. I have made the commitment that 12 months after being inaugurated as president, that border will be shut down, Governor, and it'll be secure.
I mean, Governor, it's clear that you're passionate about enforcing the border, but it's also clear that the federal government has refused to do its job.
Absolutely.
So would you favor allowing the states to be able to sue the federal government to reimburse their costs?
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, that will become a non-issue, Scott, because we will secure the border, and at that particular point in time, all of these issues that we've been facing as governors will start being eliminated.
We're going to have to take a break here. We'll come back with more with Governor Rick Perry right after the break. Stay with us, and we'll be right back. We are back. Let's continue with Texas Governor Rick Perry. And the first question, this segment from Pam Bondi.
Thank you. Governor, if a state continually fails its parents and children through inadequate education, does the federal government have an obligation to intervene on the education of these children?
No. And here's the reason why. If you believe in the 10th Amendment, if you believe that those people in that state are going to impact the legislators, they will do that. And I think that is a situation that we would not ever find ourselves in, because by the time a school failed, the children or the parents would have intervened, the legislature would have intervened. Our problem is that we've got a federal government that's intervening too much with all of these different programs. So I truly believe that the education of our children is a state and a local issue, and the federal government needs to completely stay out of it.
And in the essence of time, talking about all these programs, Governor, would you be willing to get rid of federal assistance for school lunch, Pell Grants, the GI bills?
Absolutely. I think there is a better way to distribute those dollars. Now, there may be some of those programs, whether it's the GI Bill that we leave in place, but the idea that the federal government needs to be taking as many billions of dollars as it takes from the state up to Washington, D.C., running it through the Department of Education, and then picking winners and losers, actually. I don't agree with that at all. So look at every program, but I do away with the Department of Education. I do away with it. I think that is a waste of time and a waste of money. The state's substantially better place to educate our children.
Thank you.
Governor, what does the term strict constructionist mean to you, and would that be the standard for your nominees to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, an Alito and a Roberts are the type of jurist, a strict constructionist, not a legislator in a robe. And, you know, we have about 4 of each of those right now on our Supreme Court. And that's the reason that I've called for, in my Overhauling Washington, a term for Supreme Court justices instead of these lifetime appointments. I mean, there's no accountability there. There's no check and balance. And I think if you put a term, now obviously that'd take a constitutional amendment, Governor, but I believe in it so much that that is what we need to do from the standpoint of making sure that we don't have these legislators in robes that we have on that court today. The idea that they're telling us how we can pray, the idea of whether they're telling us that our kids can pray in school, the idea of they're telling us in Texas we can't have the 10 Commandments on our Capitol grounds, I mean, that's pretty offensive to me. And I think a lifetime appointment for folks that think that way might not be too good.
Governor, have the judges you've advanced in Texas matched that model?
Absolutely. I've put some great justices. As a matter of fact, I've appointed 6 of the 9, I believe, on the Texas Supreme Court. Now, they have to run for office, and we've had openings. But those justices have been strict constructionists when it comes to making decisions. And I'm quite proud of those men and women.
Governor, what is most preferable to you? Overturning Roe versus Wade and returning abortion laws to the states, or passing a human life amendment?
Well, do both, actually, because the fact is, until you get that constitutional amendment passed, which is going to take some years, then the states, we have a parental consent law in the state of Texas, parental notification. We passed a sonogram bill in the state of Texas this last time. So we have some protections for our individuals. But until we pass that life amendment to the United States Constitution, I want to protect life in the states. So I'm actually for both until we get the constitutional amendment to our U.S. Constitution passed.
Governor, other than overseeing historically questionable union elections, is there really any reason that labor law has to be completely dominated by the federal government, or can it be left to the states?
I think you can leave it to the states as well. Listen, that's the same as the right to work laws. I mean, if people in states want to put their businesses at a competitive disadvantage and make people join unions, that ought to be their call.
So would you be ready to, except for the overseeing the union elections, would you be ready to completely get the federal government out of that business and leave it all to the states?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're in our final minute, and Ken Cuccinelli.
Yes, who's your favorite founding father and why?
My I'm going to have to say Madison, because he was just, I mean, those Federalist Papers and the things that he put together, I mean, just an incredibly brilliant, visionary individual.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Governor.
One final thing. You have 2 seconds left. We've all talked about strict constructionist. For the layman out there, just help them understand what exactly that means.
Well, it's right there. Excuse me, I took it out of my paper. That's the Constitution. Read it, exactly what it says. That's what we're talking about. Don't read anything into it. Don't add to it. Don't use these different clauses, whether it's the Commerce Clause or any of the other clauses, to try to change what our founding fathers were telling us.
Thank you very much, Governor. It's great to have you here. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. God bless you
very much. Governor Rick Perry.
Thank you.
And we'll also see Governor Perry at the end of the forum. Next, Governor Rick Perry of Texas. Governor Perry?
Mike, thank you. And boy, it's been a wild and a woolly ride in this primary, and I suspect that's going to stay the same. So I hope everyone will give me a second look and take a look at my plan that cuts taxes, that balances the budget, that gets America working again, and overhauls Washington. And one of the ways that it does that is where we'll put a part-time Congress in place. Just think about that. Send them back to their own districts to have a real job working back in their home districts. That's the way you really make a difference. You know, I've lived a purpose-driven life, and my purpose was never to be president of the United States, but our country's in trouble, and our country needs us working together to take our country back. So I hope, again, that you'll take a look at my plan and give me that second opportunity, and I'll promise you this, that every day I will work to make Washington, D.C. as inconsequential in your life as I can. God bless you. Thank you for your support and your vote.